Hey folks, Cool18 here, and welcome to Why You Should Buy Food Chain Magnate in 5 minutes or less. Or more. Food Chain Magnate is considered by many people on the internet to be one of the greatest strategic board games ever made. You're competing with other players to be the most successful food chain business there is. You're going to do that by selling pizzas, burgers, lemonades, colas, or beer. The depth of complexity comes from the fact that there's basically no random element whatsoever. It says right on the box, it's 100% dice free, and in fact, once you start playing, there is no randomness in any way whatsoever. The only element of randomness in the entire game is when you initially set up the board, the town that you're in will be built up from these tiles, so it'll be different every game. The basic gameplay is this. You and your restaurant will produce food. Advertisement will tell households, will build a desire for food in a household. For example, a giant billboard planted next to a house that advertises burgers will generate a demand of a burger in that house. That house will then look to try to find the closest restaurant that has a burger. It will buy the burger from there. There are ways to manipulate that closest restaurant thing. If you discount your prices, for example, then people are willing to travel further to buy your cheaper burger instead. So a big part of the gameplay is manipulating what price points you're selling things at so that you can be the person to make the sales. But there's an interesting quirk. Households will only buy from a restaurant that satisfies all their needs. For example, if a household desires 2 hamburgers and a lemonade, for example, they will not buy 1 hamburger or 2 hamburgers or a hamburger and a lemonade. They want to buy 2 hamburgers and a lemonade. Nothing else will satisfy them, which leads to interesting gameplay mechanics. Like, for example, at some point last time we played, I had my restaurant that was basically right next to this house. This is a house with a garden, very fancy house. It can demand up to 5 things, and in fact, it was demanding 3 burgers and I think 2 colas. And a nice thing about a house with a garden, they pay twice as much for everything. And I had a bonus because I think I was the first person to market burgers. So my burgers always have a 5% bonus to how much they produce or how much they're worth. So this house in the end was going to give me massive amounts of money. I had 3 burgers and 2 colas. The house wanted 3 burgers and 2 colas. I was going to sell this, make a huge amount of money, and probably put myself in a position to win the game. It was that big of a turn. And then someone advertised cola to another house just down the block from where I am. So when it came turn to resolve a demand from houses, you go based on the number of the house. And that house that wanted 1 cola was a low number, so it went first. That house went, found my restaurant. I was the closest restaurant that could satisfy its desire for a cola, which left me with 3 burgers and 1 cola, which meant that the house that's right next to my restaurant, when it came along and wanted 3 burgers and 2 colas, it wasn't interested in coming to my restaurant anymore. Instead, it went to my competitor's restaurant, who also had the goods despite being further away. The brilliantness of advertising colas to some otherwise unimportant house, some house that wasn't really involved in the general power struggle on the map, but caused it so that I couldn't satisfy this big sale. This is the kind of incredible emergent strategy and gameplay that is present in this game. The game is super simple to play. The manual is actually incredibly thin. It's actually twice as big as it looks because it's both English and German over here. Or is it Dutch? I think it's a Dutch company. I don't know. It's in something that's not English and English. Not only that, but some of the manual is just you know, a bunch of copies of the art and reference, you know, count your pieces, here's a chart here, kind of thing. The actual gameplay is super simple. The core loop is you have a corporate hierarchy, and at the top is the CEO. At the start of the game, it's only the CEO. And on your turn, you take the actions on your employee cards. Your CEO's action is hire 1 person, so you can hire a person. I often like to open by hiring a recruiting girl, whose power is also to hire people. So on turn 2, my corporate structure is a CEO and 1 recruiting girl. And on my turn, I recruit 2 more people. An extra recruiting girl and let's say an errand boy. An errand boy's ability is to get a drink. Just buys 1 drink for you, so either a lemonade, a cola, or a beer. Turn 3 comes along. Now my corporate structure, my CEO can have 3 people below him directly. So my CEO is going to manage 2 recruiting girls and an errand boy. The CEO and the 2 recruiting girls each hire someone. Hey, I just hired 3 people in 1 turn. That's a milestone. There are a huge number of milestones available in the game. The first person to do blah gets the milestone bonus. Now, that's within the whole round. So on my turn, if I hire 3 people, I get the first to hire 3 people in 1 turn. But if the next player also does it, they also get it because it's part of the same round. But that's it. Then it's gone forever. And some of these milestone bonuses are incredibly important. So hiring 3 people in 1 turn gets me a couple of free management trainees, which saves me some time later on. Very, very, very nice. But the errand boy is really interesting. If I use the errand boy to generate a drink, well, first of all, the first errand boy played means that from that point on, all drink buyers, all people who acquire drinks for you, generate +1 extra drink. That's really a big deal. Not only that, so I have used my errand boy to produce a lemonade. At the end of your turn, all food and drink that you have sitting around that's unsold goes away. You don't get to keep that from turn to turn. This is an incredibly painful part of the gameplay. But maybe I was the first person to throw away food or drink. I don't know. Maybe someone bought an errand boy in turn 1, played him on turn 2, and beat me to it. Could be. But let's say I was one of the first person to lose food. Well then, the first to throw away drink or food gets a freezer that can store 10 items in it. So that's food or drink you don't have to throw away between turns. This is a massive bonus that dramatically affects how you play. The game often you can sort of split the table down to people who got a freezer and to people who didn't. And they're going to have to play in fairly different ways. Massive difference. But the thing is, you're only going to be able to get some of these because while I'm, hiring people and throwing away food and getting drinks, someone else maybe trains someone. Well, first to train gets you a huge bonus. Because this gives you a discount on salaries, being the first person to train. Because your entry-level people that you hire, free, no salary. They pay for themselves or something. They're unpaid interns. I don't know. Everyone else has a salary. It's $5 per turn. Well, if you're the first to train someone, you get a $15 discount on salaries, which means you can have 3 advanced people that you don't have to pay for. This is massively huge. But what did you sacrifice to do that? Huge. And it's going to impact your whole game. And that's really the theme of it. Every move that someone makes, everything you do in this game is really simple, but has a really big impact on everything else that's going to happen. And it is just a really, 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 really strong game, and I can't recommend it enough. Food Chain Magnate, definitely see if you can find it. The printings are often small, so sometimes it goes out of print. You'll have to wait for another batch to come in, but I can't recommend it enough. It's easy to learn, but it is hard to master. The complexity, the effective complexity, is fairly high. So it might not be new player friendly, but it is worth trying to learn. Thanks for watching. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.